All right. Let's see. All right, so doing try hack me, Advent of Cyber again. Let us get a new, see what the challenge is. So, okay. Kali box here. Is today not December 10th? Oh, okay, it is. This one says task 15, networking. I'm sorry, task 15, day 10, networking, don't be selfish. Go ahead and hit deploy. Let's go ahead and get logged into the VPN. Come back. Same as before, it's OpenVPN. And then whatever the connection pack they gave you is. We can just sort of keep that off to the side. Looks like I am connected, so. All right. Let's see, what's the challenge say? We hit deploy on this. It's going to show us the IP address for our target machine. What is this? What is this challenge? More networking stuff. Okay. We're going to learn about the network file sharing protocol before getting hands-on with Samba. And we're going to do some enumeration. All right, very cool. And we're going to gain unauthorized access. That's even more cool. Okay. So they're giving us an introduction into SMB, servers message block. It's the main way. Like if you have Windows file sharing, that's what SMB is. NFS is, I mean, it's used, but it's not nearly as prevalent as SMB, or like I said, Windows file sharing. Everybody, if you had like a work group and you had like a shared like folder on like a network drive or something like that in a Windows environment, I mean, I would bet dollars to donuts that SMB is the technology being leveraged, not necessarily NFS. So Samba is a technology. It's a piece of software which apparently is written to support. I mean, it supports both protocols, both SMB and NFS. But I'd say its most common use case is probably making a Linux machine accessible to a Windows network, right? So you can access the network share. It also does like domain controller stuff, if I'm not mistaken. So client server. We're going to be using the enum for Linux tool that's provided in the Try Hack Me box. So we're not on the Try Hack Me box. We're on like a vanilla Kali. I say vanilla. It's just a basic Kali virtual machine. So enum, what was it? Enum for Linux. Does it exist? It does exist by default. So that's useful. So we don't have to do this whole open a terminal prompt. That's only probably applicable if you're using it from the attack box platform. I think you get like an hour a day for free using like the free Try Hack Me account. But you obviously, if you can run your own Kali machine, just connect with the VPN. So let's see. So it told us to run just the command to see like what's the output? What are some of the commands or the flags we can pass at it? I did less, we do more. Why is that not working? Okay, well, at any rate, so I have a user list, a machine list. What does this say? Okay, so apparently this tool is like a port of functionality. There's a utility in Windows called enum.exe. And so I guess it helps you automate that process by giving you a nice sort of wrapper script. So what is this telling us to do? H. Note how we can use options like -S to list shares or -U, note the uppercase, to list users. So shares and users on a given computer. Interesting. All right. My example I want to find out can be used to access the server through Samba. So this is our try hack me box. So let's try it real quick. It says enum. Whoops. What is this going to do for us? So it says enum for Linux dash. Let's say we want to get maybe a user list. So let's do dash. Well, let's start with shares. Like what is made publicly available on this? So shares from the try hack me target IP, which is this. Does that work? Okay, so all I did was I typed the enum for Linux. I told it I want to enumerate the shares. Enum is like short for enumerate, and gave it a target, something to touch. Okay. So share enumeration on this. So these are all the shares that are made available to that. So there's a share for what looks like HR or the Human Resources Department, looks like a share for IT, looks like a share for Santa himself. And then this IPC $ is the interprocess communication, like it's a hidden share. If you see a share that has a $ like this at the end, I believe, I think there's a hidden share. So if you just use the network browser built into Windows or something, you're not generally going to see these. So that's the point of those, is again more for like administrative tasks, like if you had an administrator share or something like that. But IPC is used to help orchestrate activity between computers. It's interprocess communications, I think what IPC stands for. So okay, so note how it's discovered so many users. Oh, we didn't run users, we ran shares. So let's list the possible users on that computer or on that server. Okay. So it looks like we have Elf McSkitty, Elf McEager, Elf McElferson. Those are 3 users. Cool. So users will have like uniquely identifying, I guess, identifying numbers like IDs, user IDs. And that's what this RID sort of contributes to. We see this number here. Anytime you'll see this, an RID of OX3E8, that is going to be in reference to Elf McSkitty. You can think of this ID, like if you had 2 John Smiths, they're going to, and they're not the same person, right? They're going to have unique IDs, even though both of their names are legitimately John R. Smith. So this is a way to sort of get a unique identifier. All right, so here they are. What else is it giving us the option to do? We were able to list the shares. We did that one first. So connecting to a share says we've already learned 2 key pieces of information, usernames to authenticate as, and shares we can access. Okay. Very common and easy. Okay, let's zoom in a bit on this. Very common and easy to use vulnerabilities, wrong permissions. You may be able to access a share and its data without logging it at all, such as we will demonstrate below. So kind of like we had yesterday, I think, with the anonymous FTP. That was not something that they set out necessarily with the intention of having it configured or misconfigured in that way. They probably just got it working and forgot to go back and secure it, right? Or in a pinch, they said, oh, I got to get this, report sent over to somebody. So they just configure it really quickly to work. And then they just fail to go back and like restrict those permissions again. So super common, it happens. All right, so we're going to use another tool, SMB client. Okay. We can just press enter to test this theory. If successful. Okay, so what were the shares that were available to us? We have these right here. So let's go ahead and copy these and then make notes. It's always a good idea to sort of like save notes like where you're walking or like while you're working along, like where you've walked in this world, so to speak. It is, what was it? 10.10.169.241. There's another thing to do. I mean, like honestly, if we just started with an IP address, I would be running new an nmap on it just to sort of get a quick feel for what it's supposed to be. So nmap -f -a 10.10.169 and let's see, 241. Let's do it quickly. This will give us some other information as well. I mean, it won't necessarily give us this like the same shares, but if it's a file server and a web server, right, it'll give us maybe some additional context as to what's going on. I'm pretty confident it's not going to have anything else on it. That's why I just did the -f. Otherwise, if I wanted to enumerate all the ports and get all the information for the versions and such, again, we do that full TAC-P TAC to sort of get the full range of 0 to 65,000 ports. We will get back some additional information though. We can assume because this is a whole like Samba server exploitation thing, it's likely going to be running an Ubuntu server, right? But you see it has port 22 open, so that's interesting. We're pretty confident it's a Linux. We would not have necessarily known this information, like the computer name beforehand. But when we use like the enum for Linux, it went through a similar process as like some of this host enumeration script is going to go through and try to get, what kind of information is available based on the operating system that it determined. So. All right, so there's that. And then we also want to get our users. So where are our users? Okay. All right, so just so we have some like quick reference. So SMB client is where we were at, if I'm not mistaken. SMB client // and I think we can use -L to do something similar to a num for Linux, and I think it should list the shares. Yeah, so SMB client -L will list stuff. So for some reason, SMB client is far more likely to be installed than the num for Linux tool if you're on a machine. And then share name. Okay, so how did they? So you'll be asked for the password. Just hit enter to test this theory is successful. Means no authentication. So we need to put in SMB client. Let's try tbfc-hr and then hit enter. Now it says enter workgroup Cali's password. So it's assuming, like, the way that SMB protocol works is your computer will send credentials to it. It's just going to guess that you're a legitimate user, and so it's going to send your current username, Cali in this instance, because that's the user that we logged in as, and the default workgroup of workgroup. So that's just a Windows default thing for the most part. And then Cali is just the host operating system's username, and it needs to send something because that's part of the protocol. It's asking for the password. I'm going to hit enter. It says access denied for the HR one. So let's try for IT. Access denied. What about Santa? Oh, did not deny us. So that's interesting. I'm going to type help, just like it's telling me to. Okay. So much like what were we in yesterday? FTP. You can type help, get help. I imagine I can type ls to list stuff. Okay. And then is there an option to get and put? It looks like it. So it's following a lot of the FTP syntax. So I'm going to get, and it looks like note from McSkitty. So it let me actually use tab completion in this tool. So I'm going to hit enter. And it says it saved that file. And it's probably in my home directory, because that's where I was, ls. Note from McSkitty. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to cat note from McSkitty. Hi, Santa. I've decided to put all your favorite jingles under the share, allowing you to access from anywhere you like. Regards, Elf McSkitty. Okay. So just like in FTP, we can CD or we can change directory. So I'm going to change directory. There's a couple of things to note here. This D represents a directory. N, I don't know. I think does it stand for node? N-O-D-E? I'm not sure. D is directory. Again, let's CD into jingle tunes. List stuff again. Doesn't look like there's anything in there. Let's get back on track and find out what they're asking us to do. We can get, we can put. Okay. Very complex protocols, computing devices, and can ultimately be leveraged to use enumeration. Called Printer Hacking 101. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, this is an excellent point. No truer statement in pen testing. The practice makes perfect. Awesome. So how many users were there? I think there were 4. We took good notes. So let's see. 3 users. Submit. There was also 3 shares, or 4 shares, really. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. The SMB client to log into the share. What share doesn't? It was TF, BFC -Santa. Oh, all right. So log into the share. What directory did Elf McSkitty leave for Santa? Jingle tunes. Awesome. All right. So, gosh, man, if you had a Kali machine and you just walked into like a corporate office somewhere, um, it's it's not surprising how many open shares there are. It's because it's just such a useful thing to be able to do is to share information between computers. That's why we have networks, is to share information. What's unfortunate is that we don't. Sometimes it's easier to do the wrong thing than it is to do the right thing with regards to security. So it's easier to just make it work with no security than it is to make it work with security. And I guess maybe that's obvious, but an obvious statement, I should say. But at any rate, this tool will allow you to start, or these concepts will allow you to start sort of in an automated fashion, go through it. So the computer science tie into this is like, how do I run this command and list all the shares across not just this one host, but maybe all 255 hosts in a class C, or all 16,000 in a class. Well, I guess that would be a class B. This would be the class B. I don't know. Anyway, computers, networks, whatever. Hit this octet, and this octet. So, all right. Well, I'm stalling for time at this point. So here we go. I guess we'll tune in tomorrow and find out what's going on with Advent Cyber there as well. So I appreciate it. Thanks.